sort of a cold analytical, very economically focused, even though it's been said that that wasn't the focus. But in fact, some of the people on the group have econ degrees, and it's very epidemiologic, very, epidemiology focused.
Well, I think, Ellen, that these folks, I do believe they're sincere. I don't think they're evil. But they're academicians, they're statisticians, they're public health, have public health degrees as well as MDs, and they really are not practicing medicine. And I think that they've just made some assumptions about the practice of medicine and how things are in the trenches, if you will, that just probably aren't valid. I'll say back in 2001 and 2002, it was sort of a different genre. There was a pair of Danish physicians who used the same Cochrane Reese to come forward and say that screening mammography had never been proven to be effective in reducing the mortality from breast cancer. And breast cancer experts and statisticians from around the world really resoundingly condemned that, and so that sort of went away. But now the argument is being made based from that same sort of resource that, well, yes, it is effective, but the harms are good. So it's the same goal, but just different emphasis this time.
Well, the biggest issue I have with the age group range is the younger you are when you find the cancer, the more aggressive it is, the more quick it spreads. And they say that early detection is key, and I was stage 3 when I was diagnosed, but I still think I was detected early. I think it just was really aggressive. I think I caught it early, but it grew really, really quickly. If I had waited 5 years, I wouldn't be here. And I think it's critical between the ages of 40 and 49 to have a mammogram, because things can happen so quickly and it grows so quickly in younger people.
I said one of the things, I'm jumping all around now, but one of the things that I noticed when I was in radiation, there were so many women in my group at that particular time of the day that were 40, 42, 45, 7. So there were a lot of 40 people, and I'm thinking, will these people fall through the cracks if we go by these new guidelines?
I wonder, though, if a lot of people find their lumps by breast self-exam, and the next step after that would be to go to your physician. And then with the new guidelines, it didn't sound like, from what Kathleen Sebelius said on CNN and on the news, that it would be difficult to, go ahead and have your mammogram and follow up, etc. But I don't know, what that future would be.
Well, the difference really is between screening mammography and diagnostic mammography. And what you all have just talked about is really diagnography, where you detect a problem. But this task force recommendation really is for women who are asymptomatic and are just having routine checkup mammograms. A woman whose breast cancer is detected by screening mammography, her mortality from that breast cancer, her chances of dying from that breast cancer, are cut by 43%. Well, that's a pretty big chunk. And not only that, but the probability that her cancer will be half the size of somebody who felt the lump is also there. Her need for chemotherapy is cut in half. And so, overall, these women, yes, you can diagnose it a little bit later, but do you really want to give the cancer another year or two to grow before when the consequences can be not only emotionally devastating to women and their families, particularly, you all were young. You probably had children, you certainly had jobs. parents that were getting older that were starting to need vision. And I would contend that the younger women, they have more life years left ahead of them. I mean, these are clearly the people that we want to find breast cancer early, despite the fact that they're over than in the older age groups.
You know, in 2007, I had a normal mammogram. 2008, I had a cancer, very small. But I said to Camille, what if these guidelines were being enforced? And it was not my year to get a mammogram in 2008. Where would I be had I waited till 2009? You know, it would have decreased my chances of survival by a year. You know, and by then I probably would have felt it myself because I did self-exams. But I think that what we're looking at is the human factor here. And to us, having been through it, having worked with it as you do, you see the one life. And to me, I'm getting the impression from these people that we're crunching numbers, we're looking at, you know, the big numbers versus the human factor. And I think, I don't know, I think the human factor for me wins out every time.
Well, another point to be made is that they really didn't consider the costs entailed of more extensive chemotherapy, which costs over $100,000. More extensive treatment of the breast is certainly more emotionally traumatic than being able to undergo breast-conserving treatment. And so all those costs, they didn't figure those in when they talked about the harms versus the benefits. So
I wonder if they, because they're a preventive task force, they stopped at, you know, at a certain point. But
exactly,
you know,
I think
that's your point is well taken. Absolutely. I'm wondering if maybe you know the answer to. I didn't understand the reason for the biennial recommendation for ages 50 to 74. I think they said something. I think I read that there's like only a 3% difference, you know, in biennial versus yearly, but that's people, you know, the percentage of people that would be detected. So I guess I wondered what your thoughts would be about that. Why did they recommend that? I didn't understand.
yeah, I think it might have been 13%.
Oh, 13, okay.
But at any rate, well, they said that the harms would be cut in half.
Okay.
My sort of comeback to that would be, yes, but your cancer detection rate would be half as well.
Right.
So again, would you prefer to have a cancer that's twice as large when it's detected, or
And
one
I think
that's
anybody would
small?
be relieved even if it was a scare, to know it's nothing. You know, I would much rather have it checked out and know it's nothing than have it not checked out and then.
Well, I would say 99% of the reactions that I get are that. And we, my colleagues and I, very hard not to call women back. When we look at a mammogram, if you have 10 mammograms and we see something on there we're not quite sure about, we will pull out mammograms. We will pull out every mammogram you have to try to convince ourselves that it was there before we make that decision to call you back in. So it's not that we're flippant and just, you know, plowing through these. We really individually look at each picture and go extensive histories if we need to.
You know, in my introduction, I mentioned the harms that were cited by the task force. You know, increased anxiety, more treatments in the form of more tests and exams, that kind of thing. And what did, you know, for me, being anxious about a mammogram for 30 minutes is, and then finding out you're okay, I'd rather go through that than to put it off a year and wonder about it. I mean, I just, for me, I want to know, and I want to do what I can do to move forward to get it treated. And, you know, so the harms to me are minimal, and even if I've got to have a disfiguring biopsy, I think that was one of the things that was mentioned. So.
Well, I'd like to say that, you know, in the places that practice state-of-the-art breast diagnosis, that there are few disfiguring biopsies anymore. In the old days, if you had a palpable lump, It really didn't matter what the x-rays or the ultrasound showed.